This week on Retrospect Rewind, we take it back to 1994 as the installation of Lloydminster's now famous border markers doesn't go according to plan.
People line the streets in anticipation of watching Lloydminster's 4 100-foot international orange border markers be erected today, when something unexpected happened. 2 of the towers didn't line up properly.
The base plate of these two towers that you see in front of you are switched 90 degrees.
It was a little disappointing that the 2 bases at the far end were out about 90 degrees on the bottom of the markers. But I understand they're going to correct that. They're going to take the base off and just realign it.
But not everybody was disappointed with today's mishap, as Gene Sloan, president of the LDCCA, who at one time led a petition against the border markers, was pleased with the miscalculation that resulted in today's delay.
You'll forgive me for saying so, but it was high glee. I figured that's the ultimate of the whoops factor.
2 of the 4 markers did get put up today, and according to City Commissioner Roger Brecko, the problems that occurred today could be a blessing in disguise, and they are not something to be worried about.
There's no urgency, there's not an urgent problem with the project. It's unfortunate, but this isn't the first project where towers have been built and base plates haven't fit, and it won't be the last one. And unfortunately, or fortunately, from the public publicity that the community will get out of the base plates not fitting, it's probably going to even be better across Canada because there'll be a little more controversy and coverage in the process.
The contractor doing the work, Dawson Wallace Construction, wouldn't do an on-camera interview today, but NewsHours learned that they plan on doing an investigation into who's responsible for today's mishap and say that the other 2 border markers should be up by tomorrow.
And fast forward to this week in 1998, new renovations to the Wainwright Hospital are completed.
Now we can declare our new renovations officially opened.
MLA Robert Fisher officially unveiled renovations of the Wainwright Hospital today, which will provide improved services for patients.
We have a newly expanded nursing care station, and we also have an expanded medication room, and we've relocated our special care unit to be closer to the nursing station. We have a newly developed palliative care suite and a newly developed labor and delivery room suite, as well as a day surgery room.
Tours were given to the public, and I was lucky enough to get my own tour of the renovated area. New work to the hospital included a new family room for meeting loved ones, as well as a labor and delivery room. This provides more privacy for expecting mothers. Having improvements and upgrading healthcare is always a growing concern.
With hospitals like anything else, you have to keep continually upgrading in order to keep constant. You can't take a step behind or you're way behind. So, no, it's a definite plus for the hospital, for the community, and we wish them all well with it.
And in 1998, a school in Heinsberg opens their doors to show the community how to surf the World Wide Web.
I'm checking the email.
Students and parents alike are hitting the information highway at the Heinsberg School. The facility has tapped into a federal government project known as CAP, the Community Access Program.
As a CAP site, we provide equipment, training, and opportunities for the community to get into our school to use the equipment for the internet.
Lauren Young is principal at the Heinsberg School. The program has allowed Young and his staff to purchase 6 new computers for access to the internet and to link up with the existing 25 workstations in the school. That equipment is now available to anyone interested, and the school is encouraging local residents to get involved.
A lot of our communities right now aren't on the internet, and this will provide an opportunity for them to get some first-hand knowledge of what it's like to use the internet. Industry Canada encourages people to become familiar with it and to find ways that they can use it for their own benefit.
And it's a lovely tree.
Thursday's open house helped to draw Heinsberg residents to the school to see the internet in action and to view some of the specialized studies students and staff have been developing. Still, the goal is to create awareness, accessibility, and most of all, community involvement.
Get onto the internet, find out what it can do and what it can do for them.
Coming up on Retrospect Rewind. In 1998, residents in Dewberry are angered when a town symbol is vandalized. Welcome back to Retrospect Rewind. We start this week's look back in time in 1994 as one of the newly installed border markers blows in the wind, leaving residents and officials concerned.
Last night, police and local residents looked on with concern as one of the newly erected border markers twisted and swayed on its base.
If somebody gets killed out of it, it'll deserve the city, responsible.
A few city officials were at the scene to make a quick inspection last night. Today, they admitted they are also concerned.
There's certainly more movement in the towers than we'd like to see. Whether it's structurally sound or not, I think it's a concern to the public.
Brecko admits one of the towers appears unsafe, but a further investigation is needed. The tower in question is one of two that had to be refitted with a second base plate after the first plate failed to fit. But there are other concerns about wind resistance. Weather officials say last night's wind speed averaged about 40 kilometers per hour, a fairly average evening for Lloydminster. Alan Inge says he is concerned the towers may not be able to hold up under very windy conditions.
It was Wednesday or Thursday, there were 70-kilometer winds. They were a lot more than this. So, and they only put these two up Wednesday night. So it's pretty serious.
City officials are sending a videotape of the moving marker to the Edmonton construction company behind the project. Today, company officials told the city they will investigate, but they continue to stand behind the safety of all four border markers.
And in 1998, residents in Dewberry are angered when a town symbol is vandalized.
In the grand scale of things, Dewberry is just a small black dot on the Alberta map. But anyone in the sport of chuck wagon racing knows exactly where the Midwest town is. 2 years ago, the 500-some residents in the town decided to take on a unique project that would combine the town's great spirit and the rodeo sport for which it's so well known, thanks to the likes of Buddy Bensmiller.
Something unique. It's our Easter egg or our pierogi, and we're known for that. We have a host of chuck wagon races that are coming up on June the 13th and 14th, I believe, and this was very much a part of that.
Their project, the world's largest fully functional racing-style chuck wagon. But today, something is wrong with the picture. Sometime overnight, the wagon tarp was stolen, and before long, the word of the vandalism was all over town.
For lack of better words, they were pretty ticked off. We really don't care if it comes back in a cardboard box on the steps of the village office, but I think it's an important thing to get it back. Something like that is part of a community enhancement thing, and when you look at the side of that wagon and you see all the nameplates on the wagon and the people who contributed to this thing, it's a sad thing to see community spirit being ripped apart by something as foolhardy as this.
The tarp is worth about $1,500, but that's not what's important to these people. The wagon promotes Dewberry, not only in its year-round spot at the end of Main Street, but also as a popular display at parades and events in the area. Residents worked for 2 years fundraising and planning to make the monument a reality, and they feel cheated.
It's a lot of hard work to get these initiatives off the ground. And the worst of it is when something like this happens, it makes the next initiative that much harder to get going because people can easily say then, well, what's the point?
Many believe it was a prank by youth in the area, possibly part of grand festivities. But people here aren't laughing. They want their wagon back to the way it was, or the community and the chuck wagon races next month just won't be the same.
Coming up on Retrospect Rewind, we look back to 1998 as an annual check stop has heavy trucks on Highway 16 thinking about safety. Welcome back to Retrospect Rewind. Turning back the clock to 1994, pro-gun supporters hold a large rally in Wainwright.
United, we will stand. Divided, we will fall.
When pro-gun supporters gathered in Wainwright, it was to let the government know exactly what they thought of proposed changes to current firearm legislation. Organized by the Responsible Firearm Owners of Alberta, the protests attracted about 2,000 firearm owners from all over the province, and as far away as Montana. They say guns don't pose the problem, criminals do.
There's no detriment out there for the criminals. The criminal gets a little slap on the wrist, he's back in the street and he retaliates.
But the groups involved in this rally say punishing firearm owners is the wrong tactic. They insist the solution is tougher sentences for convicted criminals, and that legislation already exists to do just that.
And Section 85 has been in the criminal code for many, many years. It provides for an extra sentence of 1 to 14 years for anyone who uses a gun in a serious crime, and the criminal justice system flatly refuses to use it.
And it's not just recreational gun owners and collectors that are upset. National team shooters are afraid that law changes could affect them too.
I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in my sport, years of training and competition to represent Canada nationally and internationally at competitions. So that's what I have to lose, is the loss of my sport, which I enjoy far more than anything else.
Organizers with the Wainwright Gun Rally are pleased with the reaction they have so far. They already have plans to stage more rallies like it in Alberta. And if that doesn't grab the government's attention, they say they won't hesitate to start a national movement.
And for our second story, we look back to 1998 as an annual check stop has heavy trucks on Highway 16 thinking about safety.
Both Saskatchewan and Alberta Highway Patrols teamed up today inspecting trucks along Highway 16.
Today is one of an annual road check we hold across Canada, where we check the heavy vehicles and the heavy trucks for safety, the drivers to see if they're fit and authorized to drive the vehicles they're driving.
So, what's being checked out?
The brakes, the tires, the lights, the driver's papers, you name it, suspension, anything that could if left unchecked, cause an accident on the highway.
Since early this morning, over 60 vehicles have been inspected. Both Alberta and Saskatchewan patrols are also promoting Operation Air Brake, a program geared towards awareness in braking safety.
As part of the Operation Air Brake, we're just also trying to make drivers aware of the importance of adjusting their brakes and checking the brake items, because they rely on that to stop that vehicle because there are bigger vehicles on the road.
An Operation Air Brake is a safety program aimed at drivers of heavy vehicles that we're trying to educate them to the importance of having their air brakes properly adjusted and that they have their brake components properly maintained.
The safety inspections have been going on since about 12 o'clock last night just east of Lloydminster. They will wrap the operations up today and move them to Vermilion.
Coming up on Retrospect Rewind. A group of Lloydminster residents rally to save the Meridian School. Welcome back to Retrospect Rewind. We start our look back at this week in history in 1994, as a small Alberta community makes a controversial education decision.
A new tune for rural education. The small village of Glendon is trying a 4-day-a-week school pilot, a move far from the ordinary for the small village of 450 people.
4-day week first started was the last thing in the world I ever thought would happen. It just seems so unnatural, untraditional.
And this break from tradition has some upset and questioning where the quality of education in Glendon is heading.
I can't see how a serious student or a serious teacher
feels that they can do the same amount in 4 days as they can do in 5 days.
However, school officials say there are benefits to the system. One more day off may mean students are more attentive. There may be less sick and absentee days for both students and staff. And it may also give parents the opportunity to become more involved in their children's lives, thereby allowing schools to do what they were initially set up to do.
Let's step back and take a look at the waste and the efficiency. Maybe we just kept dumping everything on school. Let's teach them sex education. Let's teach them how to live. Let's teach them how to drive. Let's hold it. Is that the role of the school with the same staff that you had before?
But town officials argue the move doesn't only affect those in the school. It affects the small village as a whole.
We're fighting for our hospital. We're fighting for everything in town. They're picking on small towns. Now, here's a good example. You go to a 4-day week, they're going to look at you and say, hey, there you go. You can operate in 4 days instead of 5 days.
As for parents, students, and staff, reaction to the change is also mixed, ranging from negative to positive to wait and see.
The days are shorter and you've got longer breaks. Now it's just a great big rush to get to your classes.
An extra day off. You get to do what you want.
With a 4-day week, the students are receiving an extra 2.6 hours of instruction. Plus, the rural students don't have to ride the bus for 1 day out of 5.
We just have to wait till the end of June to find out, really.
I really don't think it's going to make a difference. I don't know, they're still getting their time in, and I think it's going to be okay.
The pilot project will last until the end of this school year. At that time, school officials will weigh the pros and the cons of the controversial proposal and decide whether or not it's feasible and beneficial to go full steam ahead in the fall. And moving forward now to 1998, a group of Lloydminster residents rally to save the Meridian School.
Passed my class, so I'm right at the end.
Pete Holt was a student at the Meridian School in Lloydminster back when it opened in 1925.
See, I went for 4 years here when it was first built.
Oh, I see.
However, that history is in jeopardy. That is why Pete and others met today at the historic school.
The purpose of our organization is to preserve and celebrate our local histories.
That association is the Centennial Commemorative Committee, and they are trying to preserve the Meridian School as well as many other historical buildings across the border city. There are plans to level the school and in its place construct a new city hall.
It's our view, not necessarily that you have to preserve anything and everything that was ever built, but that it doesn't seem that in the present situation the heritage aspects, the aesthetic aspects, the cultural aspects are being adequately represented in the decision making that's being made.
And for that reason, the committee has collected over 1,300 signatures on a petition, which it handed over to City Council today. The Centennial Group hopes the historic school can be saved.
As far as we know, at this point, our petition is the biggest one.
Oh, I'm sure it is, Franklin, and it's appreciated.
However, creating a historical building costs money, and it won't come cheap.
Is there government money, heritage government money to kick in? We already have one heritage building that's been designated, which is the old post office down on the corner of 50th and 50th. And the estimated cost is probably about $60,000 a year to maintain this. We've had numbers on this that are over the $100,000 range a year. Is this what the city wants to spend its money on?
The petition has now been passed over to City Council, and the next step is for Council to address the bill. Saving old buildings such as the Meridian School comes down to dollars, and finding enough money to preserve Lloyd history.
And I've never been on this ground since 1930.
Really?
No kidding.
As for Pete, if the city goes ahead as planned, all he may have left are his memories.
And moving forward now to 1998, ADM works to reduce their plant's odor in the border city.
ADM is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to upgrade its current facility.
New, technically superior equipment will be installed to help reduce the odor emissions, which have long been an issue in the community.
We've said since we've taken this facility over in the early 90s that, we want to become part of the community. To do that, we have to be good neighbors, and so sometimes some of these things we do that might not be considered money making at the time, but they're things that we're required to be those good neighbors with, our neighbors to the east, and that's why we do those things.
Wednesday night, close to 40 people attended an open house to air some of their concerns and discuss the impending changes. Plant officials were on hand to personally answer questions and unveil the improvements, including new, high-efficiency packing for the wet scrubbing tower.
It has more surface area than the packing we have now. With that, in conjunction with the increased recirculation rates in our scrubbing columns, we feel that we should have a better chance of reducing our odorous emissions from those particular scrubbers, and then, of course, the stacks that they emit through.
And that is good news for local residents. For years, the smell has led many to believe that the emissions could pose a threat to their health. But according to Radiant International, that's not the case. The private firm was hired by ADM to conduct a health assessment of the plant.
Odor levels can be very different than the toxicity levels, and a lot of the chemicals that are emitted, the sulfur-containing chemicals, you can smell them at a much lower level than what they're toxic. So while there are odor issues, this does not necessarily mean there's a toxicity issue.
Air samples were collected from the 5 major sources of emissions at the plant, and although 71 chemicals were detected in the air, all of the concentration levels were less than required to meet air quality guidelines. Woodminster residents can rest assured. The smell may not be pleasant, but it certainly isn't a danger.
And that's it for another look back at this week in Retrospect.